We're talking about absolute value equations and inequalities, and here we are solving absolute value inequalities. If we look at number 19, it looks a little bit different, but we still have the same process to follow in order to answer it. First step that we come to, step number 1, is use GEMDES to get the absolute value by itself. So we're going to use GEMDES just like we have a lot. And for this one, step number 1, we have a negative divide by 3. So we could do this in 2 steps. We could multiply by negative to get rid of the negative sign here, and then multiply by 3 to get rid of the 3 because we have division. But when we use GEMDES for this one, I'm going to use multiplication to undo division. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by -3 on both sides of the inequality. And what happens when we multiply by -3 in an inequality? The first thing we should do is change the direction of the inequality sign. I forget to do that a lot. So why do we multiply by this -3? We wanted to get rid of this negative, and we wanted to get rid of this 3. So we are left with the absolute value of 6r plus 3 is greater than or equal to -3. So now we're on to step 2. Set the absolute value equation value equal to the positive and negative version of the number. So in this case, the positive version of this means we're just going to leave it alone. So when we rewrite it, we leave what's inside the absolute value. We leave that alone. So we have 6r plus 3. We leave the direction of the inequality sign, and we leave the answer alone. Even though it says -3, we really want to leave that one alone. So now when we negate it, it's actually going to become a +3 on the other side. So we're going to say 6r plus 3, we change the direction of the inequality, and we multiply the side by -1, which makes it become +3. So that was step number 2. That was step number 2, which was positive and negative. Then the next thing, we just go ahead and we use GEMDES again. So step number 3, step number 3 was change the direction of the sign, which we did. And
Mr. Rubo?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you please send Anthony Martinson down to the office for just a brief moment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think you have to take everything with you.
Okay. Should I leave this?
You should take everything with you. So step number 3 was change the direction of the inequality sign. And then step number 4 is just solve using GEMDES again. So first thing we should do is subtract 3. And we get 6r is greater than or equal to -6. And then we divide by 6. And then we get r is greater than or equal to -1. Over here, we subtract 3 and subtract 3. And we get 6r is less than or equal to 0. Divide by 6, divide by 6. And we get r is less than or equal to. So then we have to go back to the sign when we got the absolute value all by itself. And this says great or. So we can write that down as great or, and we should circle the or because that is the sign that we need to use here. So our answer needs to be less than or equal to 0 or greater than or equal to -1. And so when we go to graph this one, if it is less than or equal to 0, so let's put 0 right here, and it's a closed dot, and we're shading to the left, or r is greater than or equal to -1. So we have another closed dot at -1, and then we're going to shade to the right. Because it's or, great or, the solution for this is going to be all real numbers. For set builder, we could say all real numbers, or we can use the all real numbers sign, which is a fancy R. And for interval notation, we would say that it goes from -infinity to +infinity, and we would use parentheses on all the sides. The key here, and this is something that we need to pay attention to. Right here, what does this sign right here say?
Less than, equal to.
Less than, right? So here it says less than. But this isn't the part where we decide what our inequality is going to look like at the bottom. We have to wait till we get the absolute value by itself before we can decide if it's going to be less than or greater than. So in this case, because we multiply by negative, it changes the direction of the sign, and then that has to be greater than.